The jack is a high card, which slots into our 3-betting range quite nicely. So now we do our c-bet and we try and take the pot away now. So we bet 45, a bit under 3/4 pot. We wait to see what he does, and he just calls. We obviously have the gut shot on the 2 over cards, so we do have a drawing hand as well. And the river card comes down a 2, and again, trying to put him on a hand here is really difficult, because if he had some sort of strong hand, 2 pair, even ace jack, you know, or ace 9, he would have bet it somewhere down the line. So it seems much more likely that he either has a weak hand, something like pocket 6s, and he's just trying to get to the showdown cheaply. Seeing that and reading his hand correctly, we can try and push him off his hand. Hopefully, well, I know this because I know the player, but he is not that great at reading our hand. So if he was, then he might be able to make a hero call and snap us off with very little. But if he's just playing his own cards, then we can get away with doing a nice big all-in bluff on the river and taking the pot down. Easy peasy. Right, now let's look at some hands where we get raised on the flop. So we get raised 3 times big blind, 3-bet, call. And we flop top pair, and it comes down king 10-3 with 2 clubs. So you make our standard c-bet size, which is 26 into 44, and we get raised instantly to 82. Now, in this situation, on that kind of flop, I think that we should just get it in here. People are very predisposed to semi-bluff raising in 3-bet pots, and there are a lot of draws out there. I mean, first of all, you've got the flush draws, and you've got jack-queen for the open-ended straight. And as I already said, people just love to semi-bluff that, because, you know, they can call a re-raise all in with their draw and still have quite a bit of equity, and they can get us to fold loads of the time when we've missed. So he raised it up. Likewise, there's only 2 realistic hands that beat us, which are king 10 and 3-3 for the set and for 2 pair, because king king, ace ace, 10-10 and ace king they'd all 4-bet us pre-flop, so it's extremely unlikely that he holds any of those hands. So we elect to just bung it in, thinking we're just facing a draw, and turns out he has a set. But not to worry, because I still think we played the hand extremely well, and he's not going to have a set every time. A very similar hand next. 3 bets 22, standard, called, and the flop comes down 8 king 3 with the 2 of a suit. So very similar to the last one. Exactly the same thinking, pretty much, behind the last hand. We bet, we get raised all in this time, even stronger. Definitely call that off, and we're likely to be facing a flush draw, something like that. And he does have a flush draw, but end of the day, we got it in good. And when you're 3-betting a hand like king queen suited, and you hit top pair on that kind of a ball where 2 pair is so unlikely. I mean, is he really going to be calling a king 3-bet with king 8 suited or king 8 offsuit, 8-3? It's just so unlikely. So he's either there going to have a set or a flush draw, and the flush draw is so much more likely. You just want to get it in there. So we're happy we got our money in good, but unfortunately ended up losing the pot. Here's another hand where we get raised. So the flop comes down 7 queen king, and we flopped top 2 pair. Pretty much got the nuts here. Because we see bet almost all the time, we can value bet our hand here, and it doesn't look unusual whatsoever. And we get raised, which is perfect, absolutely perfect. We're getting lots of money into the pot, and we surely have the best hand, unless he has a set of 7s, in which case we're just getting cold deck. A lot of people would think, wow, you know, he's shown strength. Let's just get it all on the flop and see what happens. The problem is, this bet of his looks like a feeler bet. It's very unlikely that he's going to have a hand that's going to want to get it all in on the flop. There's only one feasible drawing hand here, which is Jack 10, and that is unlikely. This is only one possible hand. For him to have Queen 7 or King 7, again, pretty unlikely. So I think that this raise, which is quite a small raise, is not even 3 times our raise back at us. I think it represents more of a feeler bet. Him maybe having Ace Queen, Queen Jack, king jack, something like that, some sort of a single pair hand that he wants to judge how strong it is. So here I think we can get away with slow playing him and trapping him. So we can just call, because as I said, there's not many draws available, and everything misses on the turn, so we can get away with just checking here. And he jams because our stack size is enough that we could probably fold, even if he was bluffing. But it does look like a value bet, to be fair. So we snap him off after trapping him. It turns out he had king jack. He definitely would have folded the flop if we'd 3-bet him straight away. So we made ourselves an extra $130, $140 by just playing it nice and slow there. The final hand I'm going to show you is a little bit more complicated, and the stakes are a little bit higher. We're now playing $2.5, $5 blinds. We're in the big blind, king queen off, same as always. We get raised to 3 times the big blind, and we 3-bet to 55, which is exactly the same proportions as making those $22 bets on the 1-2. It's 11 times the big blind, and he calls. And we flop top pair with 2 clubs. So we make our standard C-bet, 70 into the $110 pot, and we get called. Turn comes down, a 3 of clubs. Now, we both like and dislike the 3 of clubs. We like it because we now obviously have a draw to the second nuts. We dislike it because if he had a flush draw, then it's likely that he's hit it. As I've said many times before, he's more likely to be raising with a flush draw on the flop, so we're not too worried about it. But I think we can just exercise a little bit of pot control here. I think he would have raised with 2 pair, maybe with a set, but I think our hand is still likely to be the best hand. We've got a draw to an even better hand, but we don't want to go too crazy with it. We want to keep the pot nice and small, so we just check it, try and keep the pot nice and small. And he bets 90. That's about a third of the pot, which is a really strange raise. It's quite hard to get a read on that. But off the top of my head, I think it looks weak, to be honest. It doesn't look like he's trying to build the pot at all. If he did have a flush, surely he wants to try and build the pot to a large enough amount so he could get us all in the river and take everything we have. If he had a made flush, then he might be scared of higher flush draws. So I'm not really sure what that $90 bet is, other than trying to make a quick steal. But there's no point raising now, because he's only going to call with better hands than us. So we check call. The river comes down a 7, which completes no feasible draws unless he had a 4-5 on the turn, which improved to an open-ended straight draw. And we check again, because if we donk out, we're not going to get called with worse. And he shoves the river all in. If he was trying to build the pot with a flush, why would he only bet a third of the pot on the turn, only to make this huge overbet? Well, it's not an overbet, but much bigger than it needed to be bet on the river. It looks like a bluff, to be honest. It really does look like a bluff, because the main part of this is that his range is totally polarized. He wouldn't bet that large an amount with a set or with 2 pair. He would be scared that we have the flush. He is either representing the flush or we have the best hand, so we can call. And on this occasion, he was bluffing. He was turning his made hand into a bluff, and got snapped off for $700. Okay, that's the end of the hand reviews. I hope it was informative. I'm sorry not all of them were incredibly interesting. There's a lot of just c-bet folding going on, but a lot of the time that's what you got to do with king queen off in 3-bet pots. I will put some more videos up involving other hands. You know, what would happen if you had queen jack off? That would be crazy. How could you cope with that? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and tune in for more.